Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening, and uh, great new year ahead. Happy New Year to all of you. So, this is our course, Community Journalism, and we were discussing previously. We were discussing issues in a community. So, today I want to discuss a very pressing issue, which is status of children in a local community and how to address that issue. So as we discussed previously, that as a community journalist, you can face many issues like women issues, children issues, violence against women. So we'll just touch them, that how you can actually recognize those issues. So and how you can address those issues in community journalism. So child rights are human rights, as you must know, and denying rights to children is a breach of human rights. So every person, including children, has a right to human dignity and integrity, and you should know this. So first of all, when you are addressing children's issues, you must be knowing United Nations Convention on the Rights of Children. So the UNCRC emphasizes that children are holders of rights and are actors in their own lives and not mere recipients of adults' care and protection. So this convention actually covers a whole spectrum of rights for children, including civil, economic, social, and cultural, and effective implementation of the UNCRC could revolutionize the status of children in Pakistan. However, the reality is in stark contrast. In Pakistan, there is a great deal of controversy on the age of a child. So although the issue was decided that a child is any person under 18 when the government signed and ratified the UNCRC in 1990. So, however, the state has failed to bring its national policies on and laws in accordance with the international instruments. A number of laws have different age that defines a child. So Pakistan's legal system comprises both civil and Islamic laws, which at times creates confusion regarding issues related to the children. Let's say an example, a child can enter the labor market at the age of 14, but he cannot have an identity card or file a case in the court. So he has no political voice, but he or she can be jailed at the age of 7. So this is quite a contrast. So if found guilty, the law can send him to the jail. So the age of marriage for boys is 18 and 16 for girls, but marriages below these ages are also considered legal. So the Prime Minister's statement issued in 2006 on Universal Children's Day claimed that the government is committed to promote and protect rights of children. And to prove the government's good intentions, it has ratified international conventions to help children enjoy their rights. However, the government has remained mired in this rhetoric and nothing is happening on the ground. So in recent years, the government has signed and ratified international treaties because of the international pressure and not out of the goodness of their heart for the children. So the social and cultural context of Pakistani society is predominantly patriarchal. Men and women are conceptually divided into two separate worlds. Home is defined as a woman's legitimate ideological and physical space, while a man dominates the world outside the home in profession and other areas of life. So the false ideological demarcation between public and private, inside and outside world is maintained through the notion of honor and institution of parda in Pakistan. So since the notion of male honor and izzat is linked with the women's sexual behavior, so their sexuality is considered a potential threat to the honor of the family. So this is again a big contrast. So women are exchanged, sold, and bought in marriages. It is happening in Pakistan. These are the issues. So they are given limited opportunities to create choices for themselves in order to change the realities of their lives. On the other hand, women belonging to the upper and middle class have increasingly greater access to education and employment opportunities and can assume greater control over their lives compared to the female who are born and who are living in lower middle class or lower class societies. So the most powerful aspect of the social and cultural context is the internalization of patriarchal norms by men and women. So, in learning to be a woman in the society, women internalize the patriarchal ideology and play an instrumental role in transforming and recreating the gender ideology through the process of socialization of their children. So, this aspect of women's life has been largely ignored by the development initiative in a country. So international pressure on state of human rights. In recent years, the government has signed and ratified international treaties because of international pressure and out of not out of the goodness, as I talked earlier. So 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 most of the treaties were done to retain trade benefits from the European markets and the European Union. So if this is the way the government takes action for the promotion of child rights in the country, the civil society has a right to advocate for change with those countries that can and do influence the government. So the state of Pakistan's children 2006 policies and plans, particularly when it does not listen to the local voice and fails to take actions. So it is observed that the government, when reporting on children's rights, qualifies its progress by a number of policy initiatives taken and direct interventions made with the target groups. So on close analysis of the government performance, one will notice that most of the work is funded by the donors such as the International Labour Organization, UNICEF, USAID, etc., etc. So there are not very many projects funded by the government, and very often many of the projects carried out at are done just like that of the NGOs. So donor will not fund government forever, and such sustainability will always remain an issue. So most of the work done by the government is cosmetic and tokenistic, and it is obvious when you see that the social indicators in Pakistan are not only worsening but are the poorest even in the region. So we rank just above the poorest of the poor African countries. So one can measure the government's seriousness about child rights from the very fact that the NCCWD, which is the nucleus body working on child rights issues, is just a commission with no statutory power. So there are also instances where the budget remains unutilized by the relevant departments or ministers in provinces and it lapses. So this is even worse. One cannot expect any meaningful change to take place unless the institutional capacity of the relevant commissions or ministry is enhanced. So the other urgent issue that the government must look into is building strong coordination between federal and provincial departments that are working for the benefits of children. So Pakistan has the potential to grow into a stable, strong, and resourceful country free of poverty and deprivation. So the steps urgently required to put Pakistan on the right track is to put all children in school where they receive quality education. So it is not an impossible task. Korea, Malaysia, many other countries have done it, and so can Pakistan do that. So the challenge today is not only to determine what needs to be done for children, but how will the government make funding available for the children? So does the present or any future government have the courage to divert its massive defense funding towards the welfare of the children? So experiences shows that countries that are developed today are those that realize the long-term benefits of compulsory education for all, and education has helped rise the productivity of labor and human resources. Schooling of females, even in the traditional societies, contributed to the decline in infant mortality and fertility rates. So mass schooling has reduced child labor as well, because when you are sending your children to the school, definitely they are not going to walk into the workshops, or they are not going to serve as a household servant. So as a result, there is a less inequality in income distribution and the greater occupational mobility. So poverty reduction has continued to be a priority for every government. It must be understood that poverty is the result and consequences of neglect of human development and human rights as well. So earlier, the government was totally silent on child labor, in its draft on poverty reduction strategy paper 2. However, following pressure from the NGO, child labor has now been mentioned in the final draft, which was recently launched at Pakistan Development Forum meeting. So it appears from this that either the government has eliminated child labor or that it can reduce poverty without eliminating child labor. So when we talk about marginalized groups in a community and children who are the victim of societal injustices, one of the ways to provide relief and reintegrate them back into our society is through effective safety nets and social protection systems. So the distribution of social services and resources allocation in Pakistan is quite uneven, not only for children, but for women and other marginalized groups. So it is quite insufficient and inequitable. So what should be the priorities of the government? So the glaring gap between the haves and the haves not is widening. So it is sad to notice that Pakistan's spending on safety nets is lower than other South Asian countries. So social safety nets are necessary components in order to alleviate poverty and injustices, because macroeconomic policies through their trickle-down effects are unlikely to be effective even in periods of high growth. So rights of our children are violated from day they are born. Only a small percentage of children enjoy the right to education and healthcare. So children are mistreated, abused, they endure severe physical and psychological punishments. They are exposed to neglect, torture, forced labor, forced prostitution, early marriage, rape, even murder. Similarly, violence against children occurs in different environments. So the family, the community, and the school, at the work, or on the streets, everywhere. So children are not safe. So today, if we are talking of building a child-friendly environment, we should be building a protective environment for children. And it must look at the following issues. Number one, health issues. So this is a crucial factor. So the health of children is important. If their health is good, obviously they will perform good in their life. So there should be special hospitals and special packages announced by the government for children's health. And this is the detail. And then child labor is a very important issue to address. So economic exploitation of the children or child labor is one of the most forms of child abuse and neglect in the Pakistan, because children are found working in almost every economic sector in Pakistan. And a large population of our children has become a financial commodity. So a large proportion of these children are invisible, working in the informal sector. Many of them are traditionally and economically bonded and also working in hazardous occupations. Then apart from child labor, these are some figures. You can look into these figures about the child labor in Pakistan. What kind of forms of child labors? They are working in carpet industry. They are working in glass bangle industry. So the situation of glass bangle industry is a lot of detail, a lot of research has been done. Then surgical industry. Then in tanneries, deep fishing industry. So child labor on the streets. So these are some of the areas there where children are working, and their working conditions are not even up to the standards. They should not be working in these situations. So that's it for today. Thank you very much. We'll meet tomorrow. Take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz. Bye-bye.